being said, we've gotten that clearance from the warden to head on into the reserve, so we'll start our journey out here this evening in the Little Aturi Forest. A lot of forest animals have camouflage that'll help them to blend into their surroundings. They can be pretty good at staying hidden, but we'll see if we can't find a few of them out here in between these trees. Looks like we might be off to a pretty good start. Already top of the hill, midway there, you'll see an okapi with the striped legs and rear end. The stripes on the okapi's legs look pretty similar to a zebra's stripes, but they're not related to the zebra at all. They're actually the only living relative to the giraffe. Both have really long prehensile tongues that are perfect for grabbing leaves from trees and bushes out here. Their skull structure is actually pretty similar to a giraffe's as well. But we're getting a pretty good peek at this okapi. They're very good at staying hidden when they want to. Unknown to the Western world as a species until the year 1901. And up until that point, they were believed to be a myth or a hallucination. Even to this day, we don't actually know how many of those okapi live out in the wild. But we're going to move over in the direction of this larger watering hole to our left. Usually a pretty good place to find those animals. They'll stop by these throughout the day, grab a drink, cool off a bit, sometimes even head down this direction to socialize. And it looks like there might be a very large visitor to this watering hole, top of the hill to our left-hand side. That is a rhinoceros up there. A black rhino to be exact. Well, black rhinos are the smaller of the rhino species found here in Africa, but still pretty hefty, usually weighing in at about 3,000 pounds. And those horns on the rhino are made out of keratin. That's the same material as our hair and our fingernails are. Well, people once believed that the horns of a rhino held medicinal or magical properties, but we now know this to definitely not be the case. Unfortunately, a lot of rhinos are still hunted and poached for those horns even to this day, leaving less than 5,000 black rhinos out in the wild and only a few thousand more white rhinos. So very lucky to catch sight of that one back there. Things are pretty quiet in this part of the forest. I think we're going to make our way out of the brush and move towards a more aquatic environment, the Safi River. We'll see what we can find in this direction. As we head down into the Safi River, we'll probably want to be on the lookout for any ripples you might see in the water. That can sometimes mean that there's an animal just beneath the surface there, so we're going to look really closely, scan that water. Nothing will get past us. Now, the water's looking pretty smooth to our right-hand side here, but we won't give up hope just yet, and that's because Nile hippopotamus like to spend most of their time in the river. They can even stay submerged up to 8 minutes without coming up for air. And it looks like there might be a few of those Nile hippos coming up ahead here to our left-hand side. We're going to inch a little closer to them, but even easier to see perched on the island to our left. You'll get a good look at these pink-backed pelicans, too. Not looking too pink right now, and that's just because they get that name from the pink coloration they'll get during mating season. Otherwise, the rest of the year, they remain this whitish-gray color that we're seeing. But it looks like there's a baby down there playing next to Mom. We'll see if they won't surface for us. There's that baby. Now, hippos are pretty graceful swimmers because of all the time they spend in the water, but they usually prefer shallower parts of the river like this so they can walk or run along the bottom of the pool, kind of like that baby's doing right now, just bouncing off the bottom there. And the baby looks pretty tiny compared to Mom. Mom is probably weighing around 5,500 pounds. That's generally what full-grown hippos will reach. But baby's still pretty large, born at about 50 to 100 pounds, and as you can see, that baby is already packed on the weight. Much more restful hippo down to our left-hand side there, looking pretty calm. Though hippos are considered one of Africa's most dangerous animals, they're super territorial, so really good thing we're keeping our distance like this. We definitely wouldn't fare too well down there with Mom or baby. And those hippos might not be the only dangerous animals over this direction, because down to our left are quite a few Nile crocodiles. So here's hoping this bridge is sturdy enough to hold our weight. Nile crocodiles like these beneath us can range between 16 and 20 feet in length, meaning that they are the same length as a giraffe is tall. And just like all reptiles, those crocodiles are cold-blooded, so when they get too cool in that water, they're going to hop out onto the banks like a lot of them have. They try to warm themselves up a little bit, match that body temperature to the air temperature around them, and vice versa. If they ever get too warm on those banks, it's a pretty easy fix. All they have to do is hop right back into the water again. Now, those crocs did diet of mostly fish, but I think we'll try to put some distance between us and them nonetheless. They've been known to eat anything that crosses their path, so we're going to make sure that isn't one of us, or at least not me. And head over towards the savannah. Already seeing a pretty prominent feature of the savannah off to our right-hand side there. Not an animal, but a tree that looks like its roots are sticking up in the air. That is a baobab tree or an upside-down tree, and we'll probably see a few more of those scattered throughout the grasslands. But in the meantime, we'll get a fantastic view overlooking the savannah as we make our way down this hill. Already seeing a lot of those animals that call it their home. And a lot of the animals that do live out here on the grasslands will greatly influence the beauty of this environment through their eating habits. So giraffes out here are going to prune down these trees when they eat. Elephants knock over those same trees when they're out here looking for food. And many hoof-stock animals like wildebeest and antelope essentially mow these grasses down when they graze. And in that way, a lot of different species are working together to create this really unique ecosystem which we're seeing. Now, it looks like there are already a couple giraffes off in the distance to our right-hand side. We're going to go meet up with them in just a moment. But much closer to us here, grazing just beyond that tree, it's a Patterson eland. Patterson's elands, like this one, are Africa's largest antelope. This looks like a female that's closest to us here, but a male eland is much, much larger, reaching about 6 feet in height at the shoulder and weighing up to 2,000 pounds. So to put that into perspective, a male of that species weighs about the same as a full-grown giraffe. Also passing by a den here to our left-hand side. And dens like this usually belong to predators, so I think we'll be nosy peek around and see if anyone's home. Things are pretty quiet in the den, but if you look beyond the den to the right there, there is a bit of movement beyond the tall grasses. Looks like a couple of spotted hyenas tucked back there. The hyenas look very dog-like, but they're not members of the canine family. They're members of their own family, the Hyenidae. They have a little bit different body shape than dogs do. It's a tad bit more hunched, especially around their rear end. Moving on from predators, my friends, that is a baby giraffe off to our right-hand side there. We'll get pretty close to this baby. And also to our left-hand side, you'll see one of those male Patterson's elands. Again, 2,000 pounds of antelope to our left.
No, that's not the moon.
No, that's just the front.
We'll get a great look at this little baby to our right-hand side. A full-grown giraffe reaches about 20 feet in height. Ooh, picking up the pace a little bit. Trying to catch up to Mom there. It looks like Mom's in the distance there. Got quite the line of sight. A full-grown giraffe again reaches about 20 feet in height, making them the tallest land animal in the world. This baby is definitely not 20 feet in height just yet, but still pretty tall. Baby giraffes are born at about 6 feet in height, and they definitely need to be born that size to be able to nurse from Mom right away. Unfortunately, that does mean the first thing this baby experiences in life is a 6-foot drop to the ground, as Mom does give birth standing up. But no worries, friends, that baby is right up and at it within an hour of that birth, usually standing and walking around. Looks like baby's gonna be reunited with Mom here in just a moment. Get a good look at the spots on these giraffes as well. These are Maasai giraffes that we're seeing. We can tell they have a bit more jagged pattern than other species of giraffes do. Spots are less rectangular, smooth edge than what we usually imagine. Almost like somebody's colored outside the lines. And each giraffe out here will have its own unique markings, very similar to us humans, with our own unique fingerprints. Quite a bit of movement over this direction here. Crossing in front of us as well, you'll see a small herd of white-bearded wildebeest. Unsurprisingly, their name in Afrikaans literally translates to wild beast, but they've also earned themselves the nickname New Cattle, spelled G-N-U for the new grunting noise they'll make when they eat or communicate with each other. Sounds kind of similar to a cow's moo, though it's a little bit lower. We'll see if we can't sneak on past the rest of the herd here. Still pretty busy grazing, but once it gets a little bit later and these wildebeest are ready for bed, they're going to arrange themselves in loose rows and clusters, and each wildebeest will try to face a different direction. That way they can all look out for predators. Also on the move to our right-hand side are some Ankole cattle, or Watusi cattle, with those giant horns. Named after the Watusi tribe here in Africa who first domesticated them. Those horns on top of their heads can reach up to 6 feet in length. They probably look super heavy, but no worries, my friends. They're mostly hollow, fairly lightweight. And that's because these horns act as a built-in cooling system for these cattle. Throughout the day, blood flows up into the empty spaces of those horns to disperse some extra heat, and then comes back down into their bodies just a tad bit cooler. Just one way they've adapted to combat the heat out here. And in some African countries, those cattle are even a sign of wealth. The solid colored cattle, like the one trailing the herd there, are worth a little bit more price-wise than the speckled or painted colored cattle are. Well, looks like there might be a couple more giraffes tucked over to our left-hand side here. You might think with it starting to get a little later that they'd be preparing for bed, but that's not the case for giraffes. They usually only sleep about 30 minutes a day. Break that up into even smaller increments, 5 minutes here, a minute or two there. And those tiny power naps keep them on the alert, on the ready for any predators that might come their way. Also leaves much more time for more important things like eating. They'll devote about 16 to 20 hours of their day to eating or searching for food. You probably noticed they were pretty busy chewing back there. And as we make our way up this hill, you'll see a couple more of those baobab trees. Again, looking like their roots are sticking up in the air. And that's because they'll remain leafless like this for about 9 months out of the year. And that allows them to conserve thousands of gallons of water, which they're going to store in these giant trunks. Many animals, like those giraffes back there, along with elephants, can poke holes in these trunks or peel away the bark for a drink in between watering holes, also giving the baobab the nickname the Tree of Life. And speaking of elephants, there is a herd coming up on our left-hand side here. They look kind of dusty or dirty to us humans, not due to poor hygiene on their part though. They just have especially sensitive skin, so throughout the day these elephants out here throw mud and dirt on their backs to act as a natural sunblock. Helps to protect that skin from the harsh savanna sun. And you'll usually find them hanging around watering holes like this one straight ahead here. They try to drink about 40 gallons of water in a day and eat up to 300 pounds of food, and that's going to help them reach their full size of between 10,000 and 13,000 pounds. Oh, and we're in luck once again, my friends. Another baby off to our left-hand side there. Baby elephant just to the left of that baobab tree. Mom not too far away there. The baby's actually going to stick by mom's side up to 15 years of its life, making its own childhood most similar in length to our very own. But unlike humans, poor mama elephant has to carry that baby for 22 months, almost 2 years, so a very, very lengthy gestation period for her. And to make it even harder on poor mom, that baby is born weighing around 500 pounds. But just on the other side of this watering hole, we've stumbled upon a flamboyance as well. Flamboyance of greater flamingos, that is. Greater flamingos are the tallest and lightest pink of all flamingo species. And flamingos are actually hatched gray and fuzzy. They'll get their color over time from their diet of shrimp and other crustaceans. Those crustaceans are filled with a substance called beta-carotene, which will turn those feathers that pink we know and love so much. Because of that, you can even sometimes tell the youngest in the flock. They're going to be more white in color. It takes them about a year to a year and a half to get that full-on pink tint that we're so familiar with. And being the tallest species of flamingos, they average around 5 feet in height, so probably around the same height as some of us here on this truck, if not even taller. Things are a little quieter over this way, a little less squawking from that flamboyance back there. We are